2, and now we're live. So welcome everybody to the Social Media Love Show with a special guest today. I'm going to do the introduction very soon. Make sure to check lots of notes. Take your favorite notebook, a pen. You have time maybe to get a glass of water because it's going to be very exciting. Brittany going to share with us how to show up on social media and kind of stand out with your brand, whether you have one yet or not. So it's for beginners, or, even if you're not a beginner, there is always a need for a refresh. And you'll see there is plenty of refresh, I'm sure, with you, Brittany. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Angelique Binet. I run Social Media Love. So what I do in my life is I help women entrepreneurs to unleash their inner rock star on social media while leveraging paid and organic content on social media, which involves Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And in all those platforms, how do you show up consistently and people recognize not only your message, but visually, what are the little things you can do, even if you have a tiny budget or a bigger budget? What are the things you can do to show up your brand? So before you introduce yourself, Brittany, I just need to ask our friends online if you hear an echo, because we are here on Instagram, here on YouTube, here on Facebook, and I just want to make sure there is no echo in our voice. Just tell us in the comments. I see private chat here. Hey, that's you. I think we're okay. So let's introduce yourself. Who are you?
Oh, okay. Hello, world. My name is Brittany Pickrem, and I am a personal brand expert and designer. And I help 6- and 7-figure business owners really show up powerfully, both in person and online, from their wardrobe to their website. So really, any way that you need to show up like a boss, I'm going to help you with that.
I love it. I love your energy. I had the chance to spend some time with you, and it's just fun. She makes you fall in love with yourself again, actually. So be prepared. So before we get into the details, tell us a little more about how did you fall into the branding world? What happened?
Oh, I love this question, because you don't really ever go to school to be a branding person per se. So how it started for me was about 13 years ago, this month to be exact. I graduated from NFCC as a graphic designer. So from there, I worked at some small businesses, non-for-profit organizations. Then I moved into the agency world. Found out the agency world was not a fit for me. I was super into Mad Men at the time, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be like Joan or Peggy and like really just totally rock out this agency thing. And it just wasn't for me. It wasn't a fit. So I decided to go off on my own. I had a couple of, it wasn't a very graceful attempt into entrepreneurship. And then I just figured, you know what, like I'm going to be happier doing my own thing. And I really started to work on the business side of things. So I had always been a creative at heart, always been a creative person. And then I realized I needed this business element to being an entrepreneur as well. So I started working with a fantastic business coach who's our business coach. I always give Eleanor Beaton a shout out, because Eleanor has like totally, she's like changed my life. She'll change anybody's life. Just listen to her podcast. She will change your life. And I realized a passion for personal branding in a lot of people who she was working with, and that there was a real need for it. So that's kind of how that's my sort of like my very brief overview of my CV about how I'm here now.
That's awesome. I love it. So I see that we have some questions via. Oh, okay. Here we go. No, that's not. I thought it was a question. It's from another platform. So I love your story because you didn't give up, and you went through, the questioning, and then what should I do, and then you just did it, and then you got help on the way. This is where it goes faster, right?
Yeah.
When you get help, and then keep focused on what you dream of doing, and then get help, and then just do the work. Basically,
yes,
right?
it is a lot of work for sure. It is doing the work for sure. That's the only thing. There's not really any simple fix or easy thing. It is doing the work.
So I know, Brittany, that some people are going to join us, and they're very beginner level in terms of, it's one thing to put out content on social media, But it's another thing to show up as a person, or even if you don't show your face or anything. How could you get consistency branding wise if you're starting from scratch? So I know you're going to reveal some of your secrets, but what are the top 3 things if I'm a newbie and I decide that from now on, I am on 2 or 3 platforms and I want people to recognize that thing that is my brand?
Yeah. Okay. This is such a good question, really, for anybody at any stage, but especially for beginners when you're just like first finding your way. So I was, one of my favorite stats about branding is that about 80% of brand recognition comes from the colors that you use in your branding. 80%. So oftentimes, like when you see Netflix, you see that red, you know that that's Netflix. When you see that coral color, you know that that's Airbnb. So being consistent with your colors in particular, especially on social media, is so huge. So colors can be a little intimidating because it's like, where do you start? How do you get inspiration for colors? I always like to tell people, honestly, what's your favorite color that you absolutely love? Completely embrace that color and totally own it, and really, show up everywhere with that color. That's the first way to start. But that's the very easy way to get going. But what I would say, the bigger tip here is having a brand style guide. So a brand style guide keeps your visuals consistent and on point. And it's just this document that says what your colors are, what your fonts are, what your photography style is, and what your overall tone is. And then you can you're not reinventing the wheel every time you're showing up. So for beginners, if I'm speaking to any beginners out there, Canva actually has this in their toolkit, in their free Canva version. You can plug in your colors, you can plug in your fonts, and just keep using the same colors and the same fonts over and over again. So that's the very kind of like the baby step way to work in that visual consistency with your brand.
I love it. So let's go back to colors, because I got those questions earlier this week. Yes, pick the color you like, but is there a sense of, what goes well together, or like light, dark, like what is the thing?
So I would say, you know what, you're probably not necessarily even going to know right away, and you're going to have to make some mistakes and figure it out. Like, really, I know that's not really the answer that everybody probably wants to hear, but you have to try that at first just to sort of get going with things. Now, there is color theory. Everybody can look up the color wheel. There's complementary colors, there's triad colors, there's all that stuff. But I would say, like, really just going back to like what your favorite color is and what you're already comfortable with, start there and then start to build the palette from there. So what's the color that sits across the color wheel of your favorite color? You can start to build there. Find a photo that you love the colors that are happening in. I actually do this every week on Mondays, called Mood Board Monday. And I take a photo that I really like the colors in, and I pull the colors out of them, and I create a whole palette. So if you start collecting photos that you like the color schemes happening in, you can even start to build your brand palette that way. Something might stick, something might not stick, but it's the way to get started with that if you're just beginning. But really, what I would say is, if you are getting a bit more professional and you're a bit more advanced, and if there's anybody out there that's listening that's a bit more advanced, what you need to do is also kind of ask yourself how you want to make people feel. Do you want to make them feel calm? Do you want to appear as if you're friendly? Do you want to appear as if you're energetic? What are the colors that would mirror those feelings, and how can you show up and really embody those colors? So that's a little more advanced. Maybe it's not where you want to start. It can be a bit intimidating, but that would be the next step up.
Okay, I'm taking notes. That's why I'm moved, right?
I love it.
Colors. What are the vibes that people feel when they see your colors? So, okay. So let's go back to your example. You say Instagram, for example. So does that mean that on each and every freaking photos, you have to see my colors? Like how subtle or how obvious it has to be?
You know what? No, I am actually I'm a little bit of a rule breaker, and I'm gonna insert this here. I really don't think anybody needs to be following a grid on Instagram. I know there's probably some social media experts out there that are cringing at me, but I think if you want to seem more authentic, you don't necessarily have to follow a grid. Now, if you want to follow a grid, please go ahead and do it, but you don't have to do that. You also don't have to show up wearing the same colors all the time or using the same colors. In fact, you want to be rotating those colors and building out that palette in those techniques I was telling you earlier. So that would really be, you want to not necessarily just have one color that you're using, you want to have the other colors.
Okay, so how many colors should we start with? Like I started with 3 and I'm still with my 3, but either like, do you have a number?
Yeah, you know, I think a good number to start with is 3. There's nothing wrong with 3, but when you start getting into building your website, you need more flexibility with your colors, and then also everything online is in color. I would recommend about 5 colors. So you'd have about 2 primary colors. So your primary palette, those are the ones that you're really using the most, and those are the colors that you would really own. So in my brand, it's probably yellow. I'm sure nobody could guess. So yellow, and I also really like blue as well. So like a powdery blue. It's going to be different for everybody, obviously. So have like a primary palette, so your 2 colors, and then you have a sub palette or a secondary palette that has about 3 colors that beautifully support that primary palette. So there is a really great tool I can recommend. That's a free resource. It's colors, COOLLORS.com. And you can go in there and you can actually put in like a color, one color that you really love, and it will pair it with about 4 other colors that go beautifully with that palette. So I can actually provide, I can send you the link for that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to note it, like, but you went too fast. How do you spell it?
I think it's COOLLORS.
Okay.
It's just a free palette generator, and I actually use this on projects myself. Sometimes it's all AI. It's all like, you know, automated computer generated colors. So sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, these are awful. But every once in a while, you get some really cool palette combinations. So it's a tool that I use. Another great tool to get inspired by palettes is actually Canva. Has a web page of about 100 to 400 different color palettes that their designers have actually created. They've pre-created, so you can go through there. So once you're clear about really like how you want to make your customer feel, let's just say it's calm, what are some colors that you can pair with that? So going to that Canva website, going to the colors website, those are 2 great ways to really start to get inspired by colors and to get a start with colors.
Yeah, I love Canva too. I don't know how I would live without Canva.
I know.
And I recently read about the story of the girl behind Canva in Australia, and I'm like, wow. So that's just completely outside, but I'm like, oh, it's even better now that I know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So I noted, pick your favorite colors first, then like second level is maybe figure out, you know, what are the vibes that you want your audience to feel. And then if you want to go a little further in terms of how many colors, pick 2 primaries and then 3 secondaries, and get some help with Canva or colors. We'll put the link after the live so that people can check, you know, how to do it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. So I want to ask you another question now. Like, so we say, okay, let's make it pretty. Let's make it like cool. But do you have an example? And I'm sure you have plenty, but what example you could share that how it made a difference for a business to really go from no branding at all to I make a point that I'm going to do those colors, those fonts, like business-wise, what can it change? Like,
So a company that really has like transformed and pivoted from like really having no brand existence at all to really totally stepping it up. You see that often when companies go through rebrands, really large corporate companies, when they go from one look and feel to another. So really there's countless examples of that. Like, but I will say though, when you are doing that sort of stuff, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. You want to keep, it's like I was saying earlier, 80% of your brand recognition comes from that color. Okay. So if you are rebranding or you're repositioning, keeping one thing that's consistent that you had built so much consistency into is really important. But I guess finding a sample of something where somebody's had no, like they had no brand presence at all, and then they just all of a sudden need to ramp it up. I would just say start looking at other brands, get inspired, and really, honestly, Pinterest is very, very inspirational. I actually walk my clients through Pinterest as well. But I'm drawing a blank with anybody who had like no brand existence at all, but I'm going to give you some tips about how you can really get a start. So really getting inspired with Pinterest and starting there is a really great first step, and figuring out really what that is. And I mean, ideally, when you're ready to, and you're ready to find your brand voice and you understand your brand values and your mission and all that, you would work with a brand designer. But really just getting started, especially in your first year of business, just getting started and getting out there, you're going to learn so much and you're going to continue to tweak as you go along. I like to say that a brand is ever evolving. It's really like a human. It totally evolves as you evolve and as your business evolves. So allow yourself the flexibility to evolve and make sure that you have that flexibility in there, especially when you're just starting out, because you haven't gotten your feet wet yet, you don't necessarily know who your customers are yet. It might be some guesswork, and you might need to, as much as I hate this word, pivot and change things as you go. So keep it fluid when you're first getting started. You know, don't be too rigid, and be open to that flexibility at like when you're first starting to build.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So Brittany, so that we're talking about online, but how do you carry out of offline that same, like, do you suggest to have a little swag in the same colors or clothes? Like, how do you transfer that thing from online to offline?
Yeah. So again, I think about the same kind of going back to the personality. And I know I've said this a few times and I really can't say it enough. It's really how you want to make people feel truly. So when you're in the room, what message do you want to send? So if you're meeting in person, like with your meeting people at conferences and all that, what's the vibe that you want to send? Very first thing that somebody does when you walk into a room, whether we know it or not, we're all visual creatures. We all evolved from cavemen. We look at the people in the room and we see who we're going to talk to. So really looking at what nonverbal message you're sending with your wardrobe is so important. So I'm going to say wardrobe, number one thing, really, really focus on that. How you know you're doing your wardrobe right is when you feel really confident and you feel great in what you're wearing. So you can't go wrong when you feel good. Your posture changes, your body language changes, everything changes when you feel good. So choosing a wardrobe and selecting a wardrobe that really makes you feel good is so incredibly important. Now, going back to your question about the colors, do you need to wear that color in the room? Absolutely not. You can wear whatever color it is that you want to wear. You don't have to wear your brand color, and you certainly can if you want to. But really, you should wear what you feel you want to wear that day for your color. It doesn't have to be your brand color. I don't like to think of wardrobe as a uniform. I think uniforms are uniforms. I think your wardrobe is something else. So really just wearing something that makes you feel really good, that makes you want to like stand up a couple inches straighter, like you're feeling yourself. Like that's what you should be wearing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Wardrobe. So tell us, how do you help your clients with wardrobe when they approach you for branding/wardrobe? Where do you start?
So how I start is actually asking them what their closet looks like. Because if your closet, if whatever's in your closet and is available to you to wear, chances are you're going to be, wearing the same things over and over again that are really making you feel the same way. And chances are if you're chatting with me, you're not necessarily impressed with what's in there. So doing a closet cleanse is one of the first things that I walk my clients through. So that's the very first thing that we do. Like that's the root of it. And then the second thing is really looking at their goals for that year. So it's like, what is your number one goal this year? Where do you want to be this time, either in 6 months from now, a year from now, and what kind of wardrobe is going to support you through that? So I like to sometimes look at wardrobe as like your suit of armor. It's like, how can that help you through the battle that you're going through at this time? So, it's really designing that wardrobe to fit your lifestyle and the goals of that. So that's really the first two ways that I begin to help my clients with that.
So if you guys have any questions, let us know. Hello, Peggy. Hello, Cindy. Oh, wardrobe. So, okay, now I know what I'm gonna do this weekend. I'm gonna go in my wardrobe and I'm gonna, is this supporting me or not? Okay.
Yeah. Is it a reflection? Like, is it a reflection of the woman that you're going towards, right? Is it a reflection of that, right? So I like to think that, like, because sometimes like we've all like purchased these pieces years ago, and it's like it's no longer a reflection of where we're going and the value that we bring, right? So, that's such an important part to really kind of stand back and edit your closet in that sense.
Love it, love it. Okay, so now. So we went through, pick your fave colors, check out the vibes that you want your colors to provide. Actually, Peggy, who's live with us, she changed her color and noticed it on her Instagram account, and I love it. It's like, ooh, like I don't know, that thing that a brand do that there is no word on it, right?
Yeah,
I love it. And then 2 primary colors, 3 secondary colors to start with. Then tools, colors, and Canva. And if you need inspiration, you go to Pinterest and see what feels good to you and how you could adapt it to your own brand. And then for the wardrobe, whatever makes you walk taller.
Yeah, whatever makes you stand taller. Like, channel those flamingo vibes. Like, you want to stand up straight.
That's going to be a quote.
Yeah.
Channel those flamingo.
Stand tall and straight and own it. Own your awesomeness.
Flamingo vibes. I love it. Okay. Vibes. Okay. Awesome. Now, before we go to our blitz, because we're gonna have a little blitz at the end, I just want to ask you, what is your brand yourself? Like, how did you use who you were? Because you said at the beginning that you were not meant for the agency life. You were creative. Like, how did your brand and the real you kind of coexisted together and expressed together in that business that you're running right now? How do you call your business? Tell us again.
Oh, this is such a good question, because all the things that we're talking about today, and oftentimes the misconception that I really dislike about visual branding is that it's this very exterior thing. And the fact is that a visual brand starts on the inside. As corny as it may sound, it really starts on the inside first. So it's all about your mindset, and it's looking inwards first. So if something that I really struggled with in particular was around visibility, around being seen and heard. So finding my voice and finding my visibility, especially over the last 3 years, has been monumental for me. So if there's something that is stopping you from pressing the live button, from putting your hand up for the opportunity, if there's a little voice that's telling you that you're not good enough, really look at that and question it, and really sit with why you feel that way. Because I had that little voice that weighed me down, let me tell you, for way too long, like 8 years of my career, right? Or even longer. And it's just because I wasn't looking inward first. So the outward is a manifestation of what's happening. It's your mindset that you really need to look at, and looking at like any potential blocks. So just because my blocks were voice and visibility, that might not be your blocks, but what are the things that are blocking you from your goals and where you're going? Like, what's stopping you? And usually how I pinpoint that is fear. What is the thing you're the most fearful to do? Then go and do that thing. And then once you don't die, once you realize you're not going to die from doing that, then you've conquered it and you stared it in the face and you've done it. So that was a really huge process for me in discovering my brand, is really facing that tougher stuff. So even though it's, visual branding is this very exterior thing, it's just as much interior inside as it is outside.
I love this. Oh, that's very wise.
Yeah.
And I love your you do weekly videos where you teach us, branding tips.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us when is this? Because I think everybody would benefit from following your videos.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so every Tuesday I have something called Brand Tip Tuesday, and they're just these little quick bite-sized tips about little practical, tactical things that you can do in your brand to boost your brand. And they're just these little bite-sized things that you can think of every week. So and if it's not in a video format, it's at least in a post format. So there's always something there every Tuesday.
Love it. So how do you tell us more about how we can work with you?
Yeah, so this is a very timely question because my latest post on Instagram actually speaks to my whole process. But really, it's as simple as getting in touch via email or a phone call or a direct message over social media. So I'm on pretty much all the platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm even on TikTok. I have my first TikTok video up. So I'm pretty much everywhere.
Okay, so what do you coach people, or do you have a program? What is it?
So I do a lot of one-to-one coaching right now. So it's very very custom to wherever you're at. I meet you where you're at. So how the process starts, we have a really casual phone call, just like you and I are chatting. I sort of figure out where you're at and how I can serve you best. Then from there, I send you an estimate. You get an estimate. You're like, yay, I'm so excited. You send me a deposit. And then we get to work. So, and really the work will depend on really where you're at and what you need. So totally custom to you.
Do you work with specific women entrepreneurs in some field, or it could be any field?
You know what? It's a bit broad, I suppose. And, Eleanor will probably get after me about this, but truthfully, it's honestly anybody, and it doesn't need to be women. I work with men as well. And I love working with men with their wardrobe, actually, in particular. It's just such a blast. But, it's anybody who is creating some type of positive change in the area that they have expertise. So I have worked with a lot of coaches and consultants. I work with and have consulted with nonprofit organizations, arts organizations. So really, it's anybody who's making their community just a little bit better in what they're doing. So in whatever focus that they're in.
Okay, love it. No, thank you for sharing this, because it's so important. And I see the need in our program we have on Instagram training right now. We discussed a lot about, where do I start? And we have actually a question from one of our students here. She's asking, I'm not a Pinterest user, but she wants to start using Pinterest to get inspiration. What should I be searching for inspiration? So where would you start your search?
So I would say think about even like a personality trait that you want to convey. So going back to the whole personality thing, let's just say like confidence, for instance. That's a really easy one. You could even say confident portrait. And then you'd find a certain type of photography style that you may really like and gravitate towards. And it's like, geez, like I want to look like this person in this photo.
This?
Yes, exactly. Totally confident. So I would say even just searching in keywords that resonate with you. So confidence, maybe vibrant, maybe friendly, and what are the images that start kind of percolating and coming up. Now, I am going to add a caveat about the Pinterest thing. Set a timer, because you can fall down a black hole. You can start to just want to think that you're comparing yourself to everybody and everything. So don't be on Pinterest too long. Be careful with that. But search keywords.
You say, even screen capture what you like, so that you have a file on your computer and you can go back and say, okay, when it's time to do your photo shoots, or even if you take your phone and take photos, just model the things that you found on Pinterest and see how it lands with your own photos.
Yeah,
good idea. I like that.
Yeah, it just start really easy, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like if you're brand new, like you're just starting off, like allow yourself that flexibility to sort of grow into where you will, because you just don't know a lot of things yet, right? So be gentle.
I love it. Walk on the field of uncertainty, certainty with serenitude.
Yes, yes,
Part of
exactly.
the game. Okay, so now let's do our blitz.
Yeah.
Are you
Oh,
ready?
I'm really excited. Yes. Okay.
Okay. First question. Your favorite book so far?
The Big Leap by Guy or Guy Hendricks.
Is it a fiction or
Oh,
professional?
it would be considered professional development, probably.
Your favorite personality online?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say Lizzo right now. Lizzo is pure fire. I'm gonna say Lizzo. I love her so much.
Your favorite show?
My favorite show. Oh my
No
gosh.
shame, no shame. It's too.
Oh, people are
I
gonna
know
judge me.
sometimes.
So you know what I really like. I really, I will say, okay, this is an old favorite of mine. An old favorite would be Pretty Little Liars, but a more current favorite would be probably Schitt's Creek.
Okay. Favorite song?
Oh, there is a song by an artist called Rational, and it's called, I don't know the name of it, but the artist Rational, Rational, I love that artist. Love him so much.
Awesome, awesome. The one thing that not a lot of people know about you.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I should go here right now. I can curl my tongue like a clover.
You didn't expect that, friends.
It's like a party trick.
Okay, I'm not gonna ask you to do it.
It's like Instagram after hours.
Okay, that's just for the VIPs.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Oh, I see that Cindy's asking, not asking, she's saying, I also struggle. I should show the comments actually.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Where are they? Oh, here we go. She says, where? Here we go. She says, maybe you see them when I put them on the screen. I also struggle with being seen and heard. So maybe if you have another 2 minutes, what is the one thing that you worked on that really made a difference and you wish you'd known that before?
So it's Sydney, right? It's Sydney who's asking. Is that
Cindy?
Cindy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cindy, I'm really glad that you asked this question because I struggled with it so long. So I gave a talk the other day to some new, just about to graduate design graduates, and I was talking about the importance of finding your voice. I would say the most powerful thing in doing that and alleviating that struggle is doing it. Go and actually do it. So what I would say though is start off really, really small. So how I started speaking is I literally gave talks to my cat. So she was just in the room and I would give talks to her, and she obviously wasn't going to judge me. I love her very much. So it was a really warm atmosphere for me to start to get used to hearing my voice, standing up and using my voice. So even physically, the act of standing up at the front of a room and using your voice will help. Even if it's just the audience of your cat or your dog or your goldfish or whatever. Then add one more person in. Probably somebody else who is a really good friend and is a safe person for you to start using your voice with. And then from there, go when you're ready, or actually, no, I shouldn't say that. When you're not ready, when you're still not ready, go and apply for a speaking engagement. And then tell everybody that you're going to do it because you can't back out of it. There's the public accountability. So the first speech I gave when I was standing at the front of the room, I was like, if I die right now, I won't have to give my talk. Oh my God, if I die. So this was me 3 years ago, like literally 3 years ago this month. It's like, if I die in this presentation, I won't have to do it. So the act of doing it helps you build your confidence. Now you want to still be in front of a warm audience, and it's not going to be like, you don't want to be throwing yourself to the sharks. Maybe there's some people who want to do that. I didn't want to do that. So I gradually built my audiences up. So start small and start warm and be gentle. Like but just start for the love of your voice and your visibility. Please just start. I'll be so proud of you. I'll be cheering you on wherever you're at, because it's really changed things for me, and it's really opened things up for me. And not just from doing that, from going through it, but like your confidence and your presence and how just everything, it changed for me. So just start talking to your cat or your goldfish or your whatever it is, your pet, and then build up from there.
Thank you so much for sharing such a personal story. Cindy says that's an excellent idea to talk to your cat. Like, no, but it's a trick, right? And I have another question from Peggy. I think she's asking, what colors would you use to suggest approachability and warmth?
Oh, okay. So Peggy's asking a really cool question. So if there's anybody that's still listening, I would actually, good. I would say, looking at color psychology. So in North America, we have a different way that we look at color and perceive color than they do on the other side of the world. So colors that mean warmth and friendliness here may not mean that on the other side of the world. So if you're an international business, you really need to kind of think about that. There's also, there's also different tones of color as well. So like there's yellow, but then there's golds and there's ochres and there's sunshine yellow. There's all those different things. So different tints and tones as well to consider. But for warmth and friendliness, at least on this side of the world, yellow, lots of white space if you're thinking about online graphics, but like a warm yellow color, not necessarily like the super bright eye-burning yellow. But yeah, like I would say, like look up color psychology and see like what are the psychological associations with certain colors. And there's a negative and positive to any color that you choose. So red, for instance, red can be viewed as passionate and exciting, but it could also be viewed as dangerous and kind of like intimidating and aggressive. So there's a positive side and a negative side to whatever color you choose. And then to add another layer on top of that, and I might be getting a bit complex, but there's so many different tints and tones. So, you could choose a softer red if you didn't want to be too kind of aggressive. So there's so many different tricks you can use, but look at color psychology. That's where I would say start there and go from there.
Cool, thank you. And we have Lynn who just said, just refresh my logo and new colors. So we have a lot of people involved in the branding stuff. I love it.
Okay. Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I missed I think I have another question. What was it? Naturalni. What software do you use to invite guests on Facebook Live? Oh, okay. It's StreamYard. Exactly. Yes, it is. Okay. So thank you so much. I told you, like, she would put you on fire. That's always the case when I talk to you. You're so you. So how do you want to end this? Is there anything you want to share that I forgot to ask that I should have asked you?
I don't think so. I would say, what, like if anything I said resonated or landed today, please feel free to reach out to me through Instagram in particular. I'm always on there. So it's Branding by Brittany. You can find me on there and you can keep up to date on all my stories and what I'm doing on there. I would say that would probably be the best way to keep in touch. So, but I think that's probably about anything. I just want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in. And it was a lot of fun. And I want to thank you too, Angelique. This was great.
Thank you for taking the time because I know you're very busy. So if any of you have more questions, just send them in the comments or contact Brittany directly. And if you have social media questions, contact me and just do the thing. Pick your colors, go with them, and just go forward, right? That's what I get from you, and I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you Instagram, and thank you YouTube, thank you Facebook, thank you to all of you who left comments. Thank you so much. Ciao, ciao.